Finally. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We are going back to that horrible world known as the JRC, but before we do, just a brief rant. So, I took vacation time today. I was supposed to be able to get off 1 p.m. my time. Out of nowhere, my boss decides, no, everybody's got to come to the team meeting. I'm like, for God's sake, woman, I put this in a week in advance. Everybody was here yesterday. Now, usually they're about an hour, so it's a pain in the ass, but it's not too big of a deal. But today, it just kept going on and on and on. To end with, we want to know your career goals. Woman, it's a call center. What are your long-term career goals? Don't you want to move here, there? No. My career goals are very simple. It's called don't get fired. I had the career. And through events that were beyond my control, well, you all see where I'm going with this, right? I'm extremely annoyed. So, if you hear a little bit more cursing than usual, this is your trigger warning now. You'll hear it again in a moment. Now to the disclaimers, folks. If you are unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, you're going to find all the pertinent links right there in the description box. Please, in particular, take note of the article written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics. In it, they interviewed over 800 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. The Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read that article so much. They threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic refused, so you know the drill. Please read the article, share on all your social media. Also included in there is NeuroClastic's public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding just in case the JRC ever actually does see through with their threat. Trigger warning 1. When we discuss places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center or Agape Boarding School for Boys, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, use the headphones. Allergies too. Sorry, folks. Trigger warning 2. The channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 or younger and watching this, parental supervision is advised. We've had a lot go on politically, folks. What can I tell you other than it's a shit show here in the States? It's always been a shit show. It's just gotten more out in the open. If you want to see the building blocks to the insanity that is encroaching from either the far right or the far left, you can find its roots during W's campaign, when the evangelicals got their first foot into political power. Okay? If you didn't see this coming, you haven't been paying attention. The agenda of Project 2025 is no different than the agenda back from 2000 and then 2004. I hate to break it to you, but them's the facts. Yes, it's horrific. Yes, it's insane. But it has literally been the platform for over the last 20 years. Okay? There's nothing new under the sun, and there's nothing new about Project 2025. And the fact of the matter is, folks, they've been already slowly, over time, over the past 20 years, bringing these policies into effect. What they're trying to do now is use Trump as a sledgehammer to ram the rest of their insanity down America's throat. Far left is not doing anyone any favors. You can't just go rah-rah and just shout your agendas from the rooftops and expect people to line up and vote for you, particularly when we are dealing with individuals who believe that women should never be questioned about anything. Okay? Us centrists are beat up and we're tired. Very tired. Our political system has been taken hostage by the most extremist individuals in this country. And it hasn't been for the better. We haven't seen a decent centrist candidate in decades. So whether Biden dropped or didn't drop, it's all still the same ball game. It's just finally people have decided to take off their masks. That's all I'm really going to say on it. Sorry. All right. So where we left off last time. The JRC documents indicate that JRC generally opposes the use of pharmacological treatments and makes little effort to attempt their use before or after prescribing the GED for an individual. The JRC paints Big Pharma as the gigantic boogeyman. It's all some whacked out conspiracy about drugging us into catatonia and warehousing us, right? Facts are, though, the numbers don't reflect that, do they? I want an individual to be able to point out to me where they can find in any news media anywhere about people who are disabled being drugged to catatonia and warehoused. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm saying that is not Big Pharma's goal here. Because, if you are a big pharmacy company, where does most of your revenue come from? Repeat customers. How are you going to get those repeat customers if you're drugging them into catatonia? Well, their power of attorney and their parents die. Okay? You need a coherent, actually here person to be able to continue to consume the product, which would be medicine. Okay? But the JRC constantly uses that. They platform themselves on it. They literally, we got to get you off of these bad medications because they're the real enemy here. No, the real enemy is that you're shocking me within an inch of my life because I stood up for more than 3 seconds. Take a pill, get shocked multiple times beneath the lethal limit. It's not the hardest decision I've ever had to make, folks. Okay? Let's continue. For example, JRC's policy on psychotropic medication states it is JRC's policy to avoid or at least minimize the use of psychotropic medication and explains that for individuals on psychotropic medication prior to enrollment at JRC, a psychiatrist will be consulted to consider the benefits of psychotropic medication removal. Let me explain it to you like you're 5. There is none. Okay? Everybody knows there is no one size fits all. That is doubly true when you're dealing with pharmaceutical medication. You can't just say, well, we started this on the low dose and she's been on it in 2 weeks, so there's no improvement. So obviously the pills are wrong and obviously we have to go to the torture device. This is the conversation we're being forced to have. Right? That is the conversation the JRC is forcing us to have. If it sounds insane, that's because it is. Their whole platform is literally to get kids off of all the meds. It's pseudoscience on steroids. All right, let's continue. Dr. Joseph, JRC's sole consulting psychopharmacologist, the soul, did you hear that? Soul, no second opinion, nothing. He works for the JRC. Conflict of interest much? Yeah, sure, I'm going to talk against the guy who signs my paycheck. Think about it. Recommends medication removal in response to almost every JRC referral. Bingo. Bingo. At no point does Dr. Joseph ever think that maybe if we just change the dosage, or if we may try this new thing that just came out that seems to be working well for other autistics that are having these same types of issues, then we can change and adjust the medication as needed to be a better supplement to the treatment plan. This is how normal people work inside this field, not the JRC. Obviously, the medicine's not working. See, they're not better in like a week. Medicine doesn't start taking effect right away. There's a lot of different factors that go into that, but you are more likely to see overall changes in a month, 2 months, 3 months than you are going to see in 2 weeks. All right? The JRC doesn't even give them that. Once psychotropic medications are eliminated, the individual is typically discharged from Dr. Joseph's care, and no psychiatrist follows the individual thereafter. So not only are we yanking you off of this medication, we're not providing for any form of follow-up from a non-biased psychiatrist from an unaffiliated clinic. If it sounds shady, it usually is. Just saying. In the words of Dr. Geller, Dr. Joseph sees his task as removing people from all their psychiatric medications and then ending his contact with them. His job, he believes, is to save these kids from the big pharma and that big evil pill so that they can be strapped with a human shock collar. Yeah. It's going to make me start side-eyeing anybody who comes through Burl whose name is Dr. Joseph. I'm sorry in advance. Of the 64 individuals with a treatment program, including ESD use as of June 2015, 7 had no record of any psychopharmacological consultations. 50 had not had psychopharmacological evaluations for over 5 years. Of these 50, 37 had not had a psychopharmacological evaluation in over 10 years, and 8 had not had a psychopharmacological evaluation for over 20 years, referring to the impounding Exhibit 662. So what we're saying is the JRC does not care that pharmaceuticals have jumped light years since the 70s when they began this insanity. They want to keep pushing the narrative of they're just going to drug your kid into catatonia and they won't be able to do anything. The GED is less restrictive than medication, when very obviously we know that that is utter bullshit. Now, I was stuck on the wrong medication for many years, from second grade all the way to graduation. Adderall has given me issues, that is true. So did Ritalin. But it never caused me to go into catatonia, folks. Other drugs, once I was actually diagnosed properly, that were used for me, Some of them did make me excessively tired and just completely and utterly emotionally drained, but I could still function on a surface level relatively well. Nor did it drug me into catatonia. Now, if I had to choose between the worst of those meds that made falling asleep all the time seem magical, either that or being shocked just below the lethal limit multiple times, which one would you choose? The risks of the GED device, by far, by a massive long shot, are way less than the threats that the GED causes. The risks are way more dangerous. But Dr. Israel doesn't want you to know that. But I'm going to tell you. And you don't have to work in the field to understand that this is the case. This isn't the 70s. We're not drugging people into catatonia and sending them off into institutions anymore. Pharmaceutical medicine has become infinitely more sophisticated. Its testing infinitely more vigorous than when the JRC first started touting this line. The JRC refuses to acknowledge any advances when it comes to pharmaceutical medication. They refuse to acknowledge the fact that there are some medicines out there, when done the right way, not only could help stop with the troublesome behavior, but actually have a more long-lasting benefit when paired with the proper treatment program than the instant stopping of the bad behavior you get from being hit with a freaking electric shock collar with the nodes and everything. Right? But we know these things. And yet, in spite of all the intention and the begging and the bullying when necessary to bring attention to this insanity, we're still having this argument in 2024. And if that's not one of the most demoralizing things you ever heard, I don't know what to tell you. We're going to close out on that one, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel, and the few we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. So you do know the drill. Please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and please don't forget to hit those comments. I appreciate your time. As always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I'll see you again here in a few minutes. Bye-bye, everyone.